Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Or good afternoon, body, whoever it is that might be joining me. Hello, Thomas. So I wasn't going to stream, but, I kind of stopped for a while because I was not feeling so good for a few weeks. Now I think I'm feeling a little better again. So maybe I'll stream a little bit more often when I get an idea here and there. But I got this idea about talking about the Rolex wait list and how it works. I got this idea from a couple of videos I've seen recently. One of them was by Rodent 3. Rodent 3 made a video in which he explained how he met with Rolex in some kind of a banquet setting. And I don't know what they did. I guess they sat there and got mesmerized by Rolex for some time, but they didn't get to ask any hard questions, as the pontiff pointed out in a recent video he just uploaded, which I got to agree with the pontiff. Everything he said in his video was on point. Why didn't Rodent 3 ask the hard questions? Rodent 2? Oh, I thought Rodent 1 was the TGV guy and Rodent 2 was Fraderico, but maybe I got 2 and 3 confused. Or and then I don't know. Okay. So Rodent 2.0. You're probably right, Thomas. So the pontiff was on point with everything he said in that video about, as far as not asking all those questions. Those were good questions that Archie came up with too. So I'm not sure what Rodent 2's intention of going to that meeting was and not asking questions. He was afraid. Perhaps he thought maybe he was going to get uninvited to the next invitation that that AD was going to put on. Anyway, it kind of disturbs me. Rodent 2's video. This is why I'm making this video, because it disturbed Archie as well. I'm a little bored with the fact that guys who don't buy Rolexes and who may not even own a Rolex even have an opinion on the Rolex wait list. It's just absurd. It's like having an opinion on screwing a girl, but you're a virgin. How could that make sense? So, I kind of want to set it straight that Rodent 2 doesn't know jack shit about what he's talking about. The only thing Rodent 2 knows is that he had to sell his only Rolex he bought from an AD because his wife made him sell it. Isn't that his only Rolex, his Batman, that he sold? I don't think he owns another Rolex. And is that the only Rolex he ever bought from an AD? And did he buy it from an AD? I think he did. But I think I'm right in everything that I just said. So anyway, who's this guy I think he is talking about Rolex AD wait lists when he has no relationship with a Rolex AD? So, I mean, I love the dude. I like the dude. I'm not sub to his channel, but, he's a stand-up guy and all, but he doesn't know shit about Rolex AD wait lists. And that's the fact of the matter. So I wanted to talk about the Rolex AD wait list because I'm a Rolex VIP customer. I'm a Rolex AD VIP customer. And I can say that because I know that to be a fact and I know that to be true. How do I know that? Because on March 1st, they offered me a two-tone root beer and I turned it down. And then she called me back 2 hours later and offered me a ceramic Daytona. And naturally, I took that offer. So I think when you're offered a ceramic Daytona, then I think you can consider yourself a VIP Rolex customer. I think that is the qualification of being a VIP Rolex customer. So I think I qualify as that. So I think I'm qualified to give an opinion and state what I think are to be facts when it comes to the Rolex wait list, how Rolex AD wait list works. So that's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from today. That's what sparked me to make this video. It was actually Archie's video that sparked me to make this video. What's up, Barry? So how did I get my Daytona from my AD? That's what everybody wants to know. Well, I have a history. I have a history with this AD. Now, my AD is no secret. It's Ben Bridge Jewelers. They have several stores. They have several brick and mortar facilities to choose from in my area, which is Southern California. Now, one of the problems that has arisen in the last 4 years is that Rolex has been nasty with its ADs because it's either limited its supply of Rolex or the supply is less limited because of the increased demand. Okay, you see, we don't know which is the case. Probably the latter. I was somewhat assured by my AD that the case is the latter, that it's not a supply problem. The supply is always fairly constant, no different than last year, no different than 4 years ago, no different than 3 years coming. It's not going to change. And it's the demand that actuates the supply of the watches. Now, which makes sense, doesn't it? More sense than what everybody else says. Now, so what was my, kind of lost my train of thought. So, Paul Thorpe. Have I seen any videos by Paul Thorpe? He has done an interesting video today exactly on this topic of availability. He called up ADs on his video and asked them about withholding warranties. Oh, no, I don't know who that is, but I'll check it out. I'll check him out, certainly. Withholding warranties. You mean with the warranty card, as as Archie was talking about. I haven't encountered that issue. That to me sounds rather extreme for an AD to hold your warranty card. To be honest, I don't think I would give a damn what the guy said. Once I bought the watch and I paid for it, I think I pretty much demand that warranty card, and I'd probably hold him up by his cuff to get it. That's just me. But why talk about a situation that isn't going to arise? So, um, so the supply. Talking about the supply, they typically get a few watches per year allocated to their stores. Oh, I remember. Okay, I didn't want to deviate. I kind of have it written down what I'm going through here. So this is very concise and worth information. I was talking about my Ben Bridge AD. There's several brick and mortars. The problem that has arisen in the last 4 years is that because of the lack of supply, this is how I got sidetracked. Because of the lack of, let's not say lack of supply, let's be more accurate. Because of the increase in demand, which has affected the supply, Rolex pulled out of several of the Ben Bridge stores. The Chinese, Fat Elvis. Hey, I'll come back. I'll address that. The Chinese. So I originally started purchasing Rolex from one store in the mall where all of the Trinities and the watch stores are all located all together. And there was a Ben Bridge there, and he was a flagship Rolex AD right in the heart of all the other shops, right next to Baron and Leeds, right next to Vacheron, everybody. That's where I started. I bought my first two there in 2012 and 2014. I bought my first two watches, Rolex. And my third watch, my third Rolex, was purchased from a different Benbridge store. And my fourth one was purchased from a different Benbridge store. Okay, so at this point, I have purchased 4 Rolexes. So you need to understand my purchase history at 1 AD because it's important. It's probably the most important factor in who's getting that next watch. Okay, so I purchased a Rolex Sub-Date in 2012, ceramic. In 2014, I purchased a high-end bluesy, a diamond bluesy ceramic in 2014. You know, 20, I think I'm just taking a guess in the next years, but then I bought a Batman a year later, and then a Hulk a year later after that. So now I've got 4 watches under my belt from this AD. Okay. Um, so definitely having a history of buying Rolex watches is important. It's the whole thing. And 4 seem to be enough. I mean, maybe it's because I have a history of coming in consistently now, you know, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016. They see somebody coming in and with a regular Rolex purchase history. I mean, basically, if you're looking at buying one a year, you know, the guy's basically allocating that. They're basically looking in their mind and saying, hey, you know, Rich Buddy's allocating $800 a month forever towards our store here buying a Rolex because he's constantly has one on the account. Okay. So there's an ongoing purchase history. That's important. So at this point, I purchased 4 steel Rolex at MSRP. Um, so what else is important? Okay, that purchase history was important. I'm gonna cross that off my list. Let's see. What the next thing that's important, I'm gonna tell you just being frankly, is being nice. Being nice is very important. So I have spent time in the store trying on watches, walking around, just hanging out, buying a watch. And I want to say on 3 separate occasions in my history of going to these ADs, in 3 separate occasions, um, I've seen a jerk in there. I mean, really, a real jerk in there, you know? And I quietly keep to my side, to myself, and I'm watching how they talk to the salesperson, how they're upset that they're not getting a call because they're on the wait list or whatever, and they're not getting a call. How come it's taking 3 months? How come it's taking this long? I've seen people get pretty pissed off. And quite honestly, if I was a salesperson, I'd scratch that person off my list as soon as they turned around, or I'd throw them about 5 spots below where they were. And that's what I would do. So, uh, being a gentleman and polite and showing that you are a patient person, I think is very important. Um, you want to walk in there with smiles. You want to be nice. You want to maybe remember something about them, ask about them, make a joke. Um, I've never greased them by buying them anything, by bringing them anything, au contraire to what some people say or might think. I've never done that. However, after the last watch she got me, the Daytona, that's the first time I went and did something, but I've never done anything prior. So I can confidently say that I never had to bribe anybody to get anything. I gave only after my very last watch purchase. I tipped her $100 bill, and then I went in another time and I gave her a $50 gift card. And I'll probably do it again, a few months down the line at some point, just because I'm thankful for getting a Daytona at MSRP, basically. Um, Going back very quickly to the Ben Bridge scenario. So Rolex pulled out of 3 of the 4 Ben Bridges. Hold on. 1, 2, um, Cerritos, Brea, South Coast. Hold on. There's Cerritos, Brea, South Coast. I'm missing the 4th one. I think there's 4. They pulled out of 3 of them. So to the very first place I went, where I bought my first 2 Rolex. The very first place I went where I bought my first 2 Rolex doesn't carry Rolex anymore. The second place where I bought my Batman doesn't sell Rolex anymore. The third place where I bought my Hulk, that's the only place that still sells them. Now, what's fortunate about the situation is that the purchase history followed me. So I didn't lose my purchase history at one Ben Bridge and the second Ben Bridge when they stopped selling Rolex, and I'm not going there anymore. Thank God. So, you know, as long as Ben Bridge still carries Rolex somewhere in the United States, that's where I'm always going to get my Rolex at MSRP. So, okay, before I go to the next point, let me check out your comments. Hey, what's up, bud? The Chinese. So what is it? The Chinese. Oh, as far as the supply and demand goes, the Chinese. A lot of people have been saying that, and I'm not going to dispute that because I'm certainly not an expert. However, I can say this, that if it is the Chinese that are decreasing our supply, then that's going to change. And if it is going to change, I'm sad to say that it's probably going to affect the prices. And the reason it's going to change is because of the trade war that's going on. Um, Despite what most people think, China is getting slaughtered in this trade war that Trump has put on. The US will probably benefit in the end from it, but besides going into econ and politics, the fact is that the Chinese yuan is not doing so hot right now, and there's a flee from the currency going on, and part of the rise in Bitcoin is being attributed to this. So let's see how this plays out and trickles down to the retail watch world. So what else? What else do I have here on my list? Okay, how does the list work? This is what we didn't talk about yet. The most important thing, right? Okay, I'm going to be very specific because I'm not going to make anything up, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it or undercoat it. I want to try to be as accurate as what my girl tells me over there, because she did spend a few minutes to explain it to me, and I sincerely asked how the AD wait list worked. And being somebody who's getting a Daytona handed to them right there in front of them, I felt she was being honest with me because there's no reason for her to lie to me when I'm getting what I want in my hand. Okay. So this is what she told me. She said that there used to be wait lists. There used to be wait lists. She says there's not a wait list in the sense that you think anymore, where there's a wait list per store like that. Here's how the current wait list works. Number one, it's not okay. Each salesperson that sells Rolex in Ben Bridge gets a turn. That's how it works. That's number one. Each salesperson at the AD gets a turn. What does that mean? John, it's your turn. There's a Batman coming in. It's your turn. John gets to sell that Batman. Jill, there's a Hulk coming in next month. It's your turn. Jill gets to sell that Hulk. Roger, there's a Daytona coming in a couple of months. That's yours. Roger gets to sell that Daytona. So that's step one. Each rep gets a turn to sell to one of his customers. Okay? Now you're that rep. You're the rep, and you've got the Batman in your hand. You know the Batman's coming. Okay, the Batman's coming. This is how it works now. So now let's say you're the rep. Here's step two. Now you're the rep, and you have the Batman coming. Your manager told you you're getting the Batman allocated to you. What do? You have your own personal wait list in your phone, right there in your notepad in your iPhone. You've got RichBuddy on your wait list. You've got Bud on your wait list. You've got Thomas on your wait list. You've got Elvis on your wait list. Each rep, each salesperson has their own list of their own customers. And that salesperson has no commitment to anybody on that list or any commitment to any order person on that list. That's their own personal private list they're going off of. If someone upsets them, they don't have to call that person. If someone brings them some gift cards, maybe they'll put that person up on the top of the list. But they're not going to be schmucks, okay? They're not going to be schmucks. Like, you're not going to just buy them over and whatever, okay? I mean, these are people. They're intelligent people. They know what you want. They know what they have. You got to be genuine with these people here, okay? You can't treat them like salespeople. So that's number two. The salesperson has his own private list in his iPhone, and he decides from his customer list who's getting that watch. And he's gonna now. So let me tell you what he does. Let me tell you what he does. So he's got a Daytona he's going to give away. So he's going to look at his list, sit down at his desk, and pull all the customers on his list up and see what they got. He's going to sit there and do an evaluation. He's going to look at RichBuddy. RichBuddy has 4 Rolex. He's going to look and see exactly what I've got. He isn't just checking to see how many watches I bought. He's checking to see what I bought. You know, how it's going to fit in my collection. Because if I have a Batman, why is he going to call me for a Batman? Okay. So they're really doing a thorough look at their accounts. Okay. Now, that said, they do have in their mind, look, if John is on the list with 2 Rolex history purchases, and RichBuddy's on the list with 4 or 5. Yeah, even though that's a personal determined list, okay, there's certain criteria he's going to follow. Why is he going to give it to the guy with 2 when the guy with 5 is the player? Okay, so there's some reasoning going on now and some independent thinking going on now that the salesperson is in charge of who he's giving this watch to. Okay, so whatever his ideology or reasoning or methodology is to deduce which person it is on that list in his phone is going to get that watch today, that's whatever reasoning and deductions he's doing to arrive at that person he's going to call and offer that watch today. So, you being one of those people being offered that watch, you have to be willing to accept it and pay for it within a 48-hour period without no bullshit. No bullshit. So that wipes out a lot of people off the list already. Okay. They know which people have money and which people don't. They know which people can pull the trigger without checking and consulting with their pocketbook, and they know which people have to consult with their pocketbook. They know which guy they know which guy keeps telling them, I gotta check with the wife. They know that guy too. Okay. So they're gonna give that's rodent two. Rodent two has to check in with his wife every time he takes a piss. Okay. So look, when if so here's what happens. Now there's still another third criteria, but let me tell you, let's talk really about number 2 a little bit more. Um, they called me, they offered me a root beer. I turned it down. Now, why did she offer me a root beer? 6 months ago, I was in there and I was talking to her about root beers. And I said, that's the next watch that I want. Well, hey, lo and behold, she called me. She called me in November and said, Rich buddy, that root beer you want, I'm going to have it to you. You're going to have it in your hands by Christmas. And I said, oh, okay, cool. That would be exciting. Christmas came by. She never called me. And I'm going to be quite frank. She never even gave me a courtesy call to let me know, I'm sorry it didn't come in. It was just nothing, just complete bliss, complete bliss. I never called and checked on it because I decided I don't want the two-tone root beer. Um, there was only one reason I didn't want it, and that's because it doesn't have the gold framed date window. But besides that, now a few more months pass. March comes along, and she calls me up and offers me the root beer. She got it. She got it 4 months later. She got it 4 months later. So she calls and offers me the root beer. This is in February of 2019, 4 months ago. Now I already decided I don't want it. So I don't want it. And what else? I don't want it. Plus, I just bought a 165220. I just bought a steel bezel Daytona from European Watch Company. Literally the day before she called me. Literally the day before she called me. The next day she calls me offering me a root beer. So I said no. She calls me back 2 hours later and says, Rich buddy, if I can get you a Daytona, would you take it? Would you be happy? And I got to tell you, I thought she was yanking my chain. But of course, I said, absolutely. I said, of course. I said, I'd love a Daytona. And she said, let me call you right back. She got off the phone with me. 20 minutes later, she called me back and she said, I'm going to have your Daytona here in 48 hours. will you be able to come and pay for it? And I also have to ask you something else. I said, what's that? I kind of need you to spend a couple of $1,000s in jewelry. And I said, I go, she said, buy something for your wife. I go, my wife doesn't wear jewelry, which my wife wears. My wife just wears some stuff, but we get it at good deals, not at a jewelry dealer. So what are you going to do? They're telling you what you need to do. You know, come on, man, you got to do it. So I said, okay, let's go, let's do it. I said 2,000. No, check this out. So I said 2,000. She said 1,500. So I whittled her down by, making a little funny noise, and she went down to 1,500. Is what I needed to spend. So I went in there and I picked up my Daytona, and that's all said and done. Okay, what was I told after I got my Daytona? This is what I was told. As I'm looking over a brand new 2019 Sea Dweller that she handed me, and I'm looking it over, she said, I can't have it, but she said, do you want to see it? You want to play with it a little bit? So she handed me a 2019 Sea Dweller, and I was playing with it for a little bit, and she was describing it to me and everything. And I asked her when I can get my next watch, because I'm interested in the Pepsi. I have the Batman. I don't want the new Batman. I was very clear on that. I said, but I do want the new Pepsi. And the only reason I want it is because I want a new movement watch, and I want a Jubilee bracelet. And I've always wanted a Pepsi. And so this will check off 3 boxes: Jubilee, new motor, Pepsi. So here's what she told me. This is number 3. This is the big number 3. The big number 3 is that I get 1 steel Rolex per year. That's what she told me. I get 1 steel Rolex per year. So come this time next year, February, March, sometime next year, I should be getting a call, and I should be getting offered a new watch. And that's it. So that's the big 3. And that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. And that's coming from somebody who isn't asking someone else, who isn't consulting with someone else, who isn't, talking to a bird in the woods, listening to a falling tree. This is coming from someone who's been there, done that, buying it, doing it, getting it. Getting it. That's the most important part. Talk to somebody who got a ceramic Daytona sold to them from an AD, not someone who wishes they could have one sold to them from an AD. So that's my 2 bits on that. So let me go to the comments now, and I'm sorry, I wanted to not lose my train of thought, because I really wanted to put forth this information as constructively as possible without going to the comments. So let me see. Thomas, my AD in the UK initially said there was no waiting list. On my last visit, they said I could put my name down for more desirable pieces. Interesting how you say it works. Yeah, so that's it. You put your name down, and it's going to work. How I'm describing it is how it works at my AD. It is a fact. This is how it works at my AD. Okay. Is this the model that Baron and Leeds uses? I don't know. Is this the model that Thomas, your AD in the UK, uses? I don't know. Is this a model that was construed by the head of Ben Bridge, Rolex division? Quite possibly. So at least I'm giving you a 100% accurate and real depiction fact of how a big AD does their wait lists and how they select their customer and how often I can expect to get a watch. Bud, Bud goes in every week and puts his name down. You know what, Bud? Something you said the other day when we were talking kind of disturbed me. And I was like, man, are they pulling his chain? What are they doing to the poor guy? Didn't you tell me the other day you've been waiting for a special piece like a Pepsi from your AD and you've been buying pieces from him? How many pieces have you bought from him and for how long? Is kind of my question. Have you bought one piece from him in 2 years, two pieces from him in 2 years, and he's still yanking your chain after he's told you he'd get it for you because that's what he told you, right? So I'm kind of curious, Bud, how how many you've bought from this guy. Thomas, ADs can lose out to serial flippers by selecting the punter who has bought more pieces. That person could just keep buying and flipping to gray market dealers. It's not necessarily the best way. Thomas, you bring up a great point. I actually needed to make this as an important point and I completely forgot. However, you just reminded me. You brought it up exactly. Guys, it's important that you show them your watches. You've got to floss your watches to the AD. I can't tell you how important that is. Let me be specific. Every time you go into your AD, you need to wear the watch you bought from them. One time you got to walk in with the Batman you bought from them. The next time I walk in with the Hulk I bought with them from them. The next time I walk in, I wear the bluesy I bought from them. The next time I walk in, I buy the sub date I bought from them. I'm very conscious of that. Good point, Thomas. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very, very conscious of this. Every time I walk into my AD, I show them that I still own all the watches that I have bought and that I'm not a flipper. I'm not a flipper. She told me, she told me they purposely pick customers that they will not sell the watch. She was very specific and very adamant, and I could tell it struck the chord with her when she explained it to me. If she thought there was any chance I was going to sell this Daytona for $20,000 when I walk out of that store, she would not be selling me that watch. I want to make that very clear. So, man, if you're planning on buying and flipping, I tell you what, you better not flip it right away and you better wear that watch a few times walking in. If it's a hot watch, if it's a hot watch, okay? Now, that's very important. So that I would say that's a point number 4. That's a big point number 4. Do I think Rolex is stockpiling? I can't comment on anything I have no idea about, which is what a lot of the YouTube guys do. So the answer is I don't know. But as a business person, from a business perspective, I wouldn't think so because, you know, you strike when the iron's hot. And if you have the pieces, I would think you're going to sell them. And if there's people waiting for them, you want to get it to them. I think it's more a high demand, low supply, not low supply, a high demand problem. Okay. That's okay. Uh, another time I've been there, they've mentioned that to me as well, that the supply is constant. It's the demand that is affecting the supply, the demand. Oh, how many do they get? Check this out. Check this out. She was extremely specific, very specific. She gets 2 ceramic Daytonas per year. That's all she gets. Not her specifically, the entire store. The entire store gets 1 black and 1 white for the whole year. So, 2 Daytonas per store all over the world. I think that kinda makes sense, you know? Fat Elvis. I don't think they're stockpiling. I think that they are too many VIPs buying and flipping straight away, causing a retail shortage and a large overpriced gray market. You know, the flipping, yeah, I'm not sure how the people who are flipping them get the watches because, you know, when you're somebody like me who's built a history of buying Rolex at an AD, you've built that history over time because you love Rolex, you love watches, and you're holding the watches. I haven't sold a single watch in my life, ever. Um, I returned one, an Omega, but I've never sold a watch ever. So, I mean, if you're some super look, I'm not a super rich guy. I overextend myself on my watches. If uh if another financial advisor saw how I spent my money on my watches, you know, he would think I'm the worst financial advisor in the world to myself. Let's just be honest. Um, but I'm not gonna sell them, man. Look, if you're a $1,000,000 jet setter and you got a ceramic Daytona allocated to you, why the fuck do you need to sell it? Do you need to sell it? Anybody on these VIP lists is not in a position where they need to sell the watch unless they're in the business of it. So, um, but somebody's selling them. Thomas is absolutely 100% right because if for every watch you can buy on European Watch Company or on eBay for 25,000, somebody got that watch at MSRP and sold it to somebody else. So it's happening. It's definitely happening. Um, would I sell my Daytona? If the price is right, I'll sell it. If any of you guys watching want to offer me $24,000 for it today, you know, I'll take $24,000. Other than that, I mean, I'm keeping the bastard. So anyway, I think I've killed this topic. Anything else anybody has to say? Otherwise, I'll be signing off here in a minute here. Thank you for joining me. I really hope this sheds some light on how a Rolex wait list really works from a perspective of a regular Rolex AD customer. And yeah, I really hope that does clear things up and gives you a fresh insight from someone who isn't a YouTuber really, and from someone who's strictly a watch enthusiast collector. Um, by the way, that Omega that I bought, that's coming in on Monday, that Omega, oh my God, I've been looking all over the internet and I found a couple of them priced at 16,000. 16,000. So I picked it up for 9,000. And if I add the bracelet that'll bring me to 11,500 on a $16,000 watch. And there's still a chance that it's the coveted dark gray blue dial. I'm crossing my fingers. So I'll do an unboxing video live, and you guys will watch me crack the box open with a razor and see it for the first time. And then I'll go over my second watch that I purchased. We'll make a couple of videos out of that too. Um, oh yeah, no, I know, Thomas. Yeah, I know I don't flip my watches, but yeah, I guess. I mean, Archie would be a professional flipper if he had a relationship with an AD. That's for damn sure. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Ciao.